Thank you for spending some time today with us and learning a little bit more about the history of Zoom and the product suite that we offer. So many of you have probably seen a lot of this before, but it'll be nice to have a refresher here, a little bit more robust story of how Zoom came to be, and learn a little bit kind of how we structure and how we discuss our product suite at Zoom directly, so you can help replicate it, get more familiarity with it, and be able to replicate that story as you have your conversations in the marketplace. So let's go ahead and cover a quick agenda. Again, to talk about Zoom, the product suite, and we'll be able to cover some Q&A. Again, use the Q&A window that you have inside the interface, and we'll be able to reference those questions when we get to the Q&A towards the end. All right, well, first of all, let's start about Zoom. So I always like to tell the story. You know, I'm has worked with our CEO, Eric Yuan, for quite some time now, a little over 10 years. So I always like telling the story. It's like a little bit of history of the market as well as the history of Zoom all in one. So let's start off with Eric. So Eric is our CEO. Eric was employee number 9 at WebEx back in the day. He helped to build the infrastructure. He helped to build the code and really mature WebEx. He was, on the WebEx team before it was even called WebEx. So he helped to mature that product, grow it internationally to the stature that it had received, and exited there in 2010, 2011 timeframe. So again, during that time, he was able to grow WebEx all the way up until the Cisco acquisition of WebEx in 2007. And I always like to tell everybody, it's kind of like you have a child, and you raise the child until it's 15 years old, and then have someone come along and say, listen, the child's never going to drive, it's never going to turn 16. That's kind of the impact that the Cisco acquisition had on Eric. He grew his code and the infrastructure that he built with a vision of what collaboration should be in the marketplace. And with the acquisition, kind of was told to halt and let's bolt on all the different parts and pieces that Cisco wanted to bolt on to WebEx at the time, which pretty much eliminated innovation on the product that he had built. So after the acquisition, he spent about another 3 years there and was running as the global collaboration engineering team, which comprised, I believe, about 850 engineers across the globe. Decided that he didn't want to have his hands held or tied anymore on the limitation of the product. Wanted to continue his vision of growing a very reliable, very easy to use, very high quality solution in the collaboration marketplace. So he exited Cisco to start Zoom. Many of the engineers, of course, followed him, as you can imagine. They grew up with Eric in the industry as well. So we have the benefit of having a very tenured engineering staff that followed Eric over. So we came to market. We actually started the company in 2011. We really hit the market in 2013. So, in about 3 years now, 2.5, 3 years, it's been a very, very fast growth environment, which has been a blast for us. Many of you have seen kind of where we've come from and where we are today. So, looking in that second column under growth, give you an idea of what that looks like. Early last year, one of our another provider in the industry came out with a large press release. This company's been around for, I believe, right about 5 years now. And they rolled out saying, hey, we're going to hit 1 billion minutes this year, and it's a bunch of the guys that we've known forever. So again, some additional ex-WebEx individuals started this company as well. And they were, boasting about their 1 billion meeting minutes, and, made us kind of take a look, well, where are we at? And we realized that in 2015, we were on track, and we did hit 4 billion annual meeting minutes. So we have been around about half the time of that company, but we've quadrupled the growth of one of the other major players in the space. We've also seen a very large uptake in the number of unique businesses that have become clients. So we've actually gone from, in right around 2.5, 3 years, we've gone from 0 to 200,000 unique businesses in this space, which is a lot of people don't look at it and they can't believe that the number's true, but it's been, I always say we kind of hit that hockey stick growth period very early in the process. So the growth's been very exciting. We've gone from, I believe about a year ago, I was employee number 20 when I joined the enterprise sales team, and now I work on the channel side, of course. But now we have over 100 direct salespeople, and that number is continually going to grow as well, which is a nice part for our partners because we actually create a frictionless environment with our channel team. So our direct force does not lose anything by working with our channel team. So it creates a very nice and friendly environment, not only inside our company, but with all of our partners as well. One thing to note is when we've talked about Eric, our leader. Late last year, a gentleman by the name of Dave Berman, who actually created the WebTouch sales methodology when he was an early leader at Cisco or at WebEx, left WebEx after the acquisition and went to run RingCentral for 6 years, and left RingCentral last year to join Zoom. So I always like telling the story of David Berman and Eric Yuan. So David, early sales leader at WebEx, again, prior to it being called WebEx, took Eric out as a engineering specialist to one of a large prospect that he had back in, I think, late or early 2000s, late 1990s. And so he was his first SE, and they made their first sales call together. So it's amazing how fast things can change in a matter of 15, 16 years. So that's kind of a brief history of kind of where Zoom came from. On the right-hand side, the last piece I will say is on the funding piece. We've taken about $45 million. However, we have been a profitable organization since year 2. So we've managed the funds we have received very well, and it's not something where we're taking on a lot of debt for no reason. So we run a very efficient organization, which is going to be good for us in the long term to be able to make the market impact that we need to and the adjustments that we need to as we move forward. So from a background, that's about it. Josh, have we seen any questions come through around kind of the history of Zoom?
None so far, Wayne. Let's keep going.
Perfect.
Thanks so much.
My pleasure. So when we talked about Eric's vision for the organization, there's really just some key areas that he always wanted to focus on. So Eric is a big fan of Tony Hsieh, who is the ex-CEO of Zappos, and he wrote a book around delivering happiness. So that's kind of a mantra within our organization is, Eric will go through, asking everyone, we have to deliver more happiness today. We have to deliver more happiness today. He really instills that philosophy. We all read the book when we come on board to Zoom. We're always focusing on that mantra of delivering happiness to our internal staff, to our customers, to our partners, anyone that we interact with. We really want to maintain that high level of quality and high level of satisfaction that we get. So when you look at Zoom, where you talk to anybody about Zoom, you're really going to hear some key things. Everyone's going to say it's easy to use. Everyone's going to say it provides great quality. Everyone's going to enjoy the fact that it's one solution that can be used in many different flavors. It's not multiple license types that create issues when you need to go from one to the other. And everyone enjoys the affordability that Zoom provides. And again, going back to Eric's philosophy is, we wanted to create an extremely easy-to-use product that delivered great quality and that wasn't going to break the bank. So when you look at these kind of 4 components, that's what you're going to hear consistently in the marketplace with current customers, with prospects, someone taking a trial. Everyone's going to come back and say the same thing. It was really great quality, really easy to use. I really enjoyed the experience. So kind of hitting on those 4 items from an easy-to-use perspective. We always like telling the GoDaddy story. So GoDaddy became a customer last year. They went through a very just drawn-out evaluation period. They looked at 42 different solutions. When I heard that number, I didn't realize there was that many in the space. But they looked at 42 different solutions. At the end of the day, they took a vote from the individuals that were in there. 99 out of 100 employees voted for Zoom to be the solution. So they actually deployed us as a kind of starting phase, around 1,600 licenses and 70 Zoom rooms. And we'll get more into the product suite as we go through this. But I always like focusing on those 4 components. That's why people really enjoy working with us. The high quality piece, again, Uber is a great story. So Uber's deployed over 700 Zoom rooms. They've got 6,000 employee licenses, and it's really been based upon that quality perspective. When you look at the other solutions they evaluated, again, it came down to just the experience and the quality that was there. California State University is an amazing story. We're in 21 campuses, over 400,000 students, faculty, and staff. It was an amazing win for us, but the number of people that are actually using it, that have used it, and that all-in-one tool, along with the simplicity, easy to understand, easy to use, feature parity across all endpoints, mobile devices, everything. It's a great story, going into that all-in-one piece. And then SolarCity as well. SolarCity's been a customer for quite some time. They've deployed hundreds of Zoom rooms, site licenses for everyone to use internally. And again, it's based upon when they looked at the marketplace, they looked at the overall cost along with the other three components. So nice little stories and some logos to share. And it's always nice to have that story to tell when you're talking about, a manufacturer or vendor that you work with, one of your partners. Going on to some more analyst and industry awards about the organization. We've received visionary placement in our first year with Gartner, which is almost unheard of. When you look at the critical components report from Gartner, we're actually within the top 3 next to us, Microsoft, and Cisco in every critical category that they rated us on. Along with, there's 10 or 15 other vendors out there, and we hit the top 3 in every category, kind of switching positions in each of the categories. We've also won Best Pure Cloud Software VC Service through Let's Do Video, Entrepreneurial Company of the Year from Frost & Sullivan, the Leader Placement in the Aragon Research Reports, as well as Emergence Capital's Emergency Award for the year. Now, this is a big one to us. We talked about that good quality, delivering happiness. We actually are the top-ranked provider when you look at a Net Promoter Score. Those that aren't familiar with the Net Promoter Score, the Net Promoter Score is based from -100 to 100-point scale, and it is a way to measure and to judge the satisfaction with a product from a manufacturer or vendor. So we actually were, I believe, double digits higher than anyone else we were compared to in that space. So that 62 is something that we're extremely proud of, and it just goes to show what the effort that we put into delivering happiness. It's not just a mantra; it's something that's built into the code that we use when we develop our software, the experience that we focus on from a UI and UX, and dealing with the satisfaction our sales force, our support team, everybody that's involved delivers on a day-to-day basis. We've have about half the Fortune top 50 organizations or customers. This is a strong quote. I mean, this statistic is amazing. We're in 86% of the top universities ranked by U.S. News and World Report. Going back to the slide before, we have 5,300, plus higher education customers. They've really just it's taken off and it's run in that space. But again, going to the fact that if you look at the audience that's coming into the marketplace today, the workforce coming out of college into the corporate world, it goes to show just kind of how we can make an impact. The adoption that we see, the organic growth that we see by these organizations, students, faculty, everyone using the tool. And it is the students where we see the largest growth in that space. They really just enjoy using Zoom because, again, the quality, the ease of use. We've got a few more organizations down here, Quicken Loans, Caesars Entertainment, Match.com or Match Group, Biata Healthcare, Slack is another great story to tell, using both Zoom Rooms as well as our desktop licensing, Columbia University and Flipboard. There's numerous others out there, and there's always some great stories to tell. And when you work with our sales staff, they'll have all these. They all like to tell different stories about different customers, so you'll get to hear it as you work with the organization.
Wayne, we had a question come in.
Sure.
Seeing just the amazing growth that the company has seen in just such a short time. I know, for instance, when I was coming on board here and learning more about Zoom, I found it a little bit hard to believe. I couldn't believe that a company in this industry was getting such great reviews, such high adoption rates, delivering happiness, really slick engineering, clean products, really easy to use. But people ask, how are we doing it? Can you speak to that just for a moment?
Definitely.
Or you want to add?
No, definitely. We talked about how we developed a delivering happiness component into the software, the ease of use, the quality. When you look at the team members at Zoom, we've talked about our leadership between Eric and Dave Berman. We look at the sales teams that we've had. We've gathered from numerous industries, people within the collaboration space, people outside of the collaboration space. We've all seen, working with other organizations out there and other providers, what not to do. And I think as the market's matured over the years, we really got an understanding of what doesn't work, and we're trying to avoid implementing or having our culture take a shift into the direction that we've seen happen in the past. The complicated solutions from a poor architectural basis or out-of-date architectural basis with technology being used to deliver solutions like this, that was Eric's concern from the beginning. So when we talked about delivering happiness, again, looking back all the way to the inception, he built this on a platform that's going to be highly scalable, but also uses the latest and greatest technology so that we're not going to run into roadblocks as we do grow the organization, as we do add new services. Going back to the very core of what Zoom is, we're built with a foundation that's designed to grow and adapt with us, but also bringing in expertise and bringing in experience from other places and other industries and other vendors where we know what not to do, we know what has worked, and we know how to deliver happiness at the core of everything that we do. So I think that's why we've seen the high NPS scores, the growth that we've seen, the popularity from the industry and analysts that we've seen. Everyone has always kind of known the shortcomings of all the other solutions that are out there, and seeing how we fill the gaps in those spaces through very simplistic, very, very high quality technology is it makes everybody happy.
That's a great point. Thanks.
My pleasure. All right, and the one last thing to note is security is one of the key functions. Everybody has to have security. As you can imagine, with the experience we've talked about from the executive team that flows through all of our engineering team, we're building in all the security layers necessary to be able to provide solutions, not only from the very smallest of companies, but also to the very largest. Also looking at public sector, looking at very highly regulated environments, being able to work with them and provide that level that they need and the customization and kind of adjustments that they want to see from a tool like Zoom. All right. Zoom was designed for the modern team. We've talked about all these points. I won't go through it again. But again, it's really about having that good foundation, having the right people, the right philosophy and culture in place to make that work together in order to deliver, the latest and greatest. Again, we go back looking at the popularity we have in higher education. If you're not satisfying the needs of the people coming out of their education experience into the workforce, then that's where you're not going to see the growth and everything that you need long term. You need to be able to satisfy, and everybody likes to use the term millennial. I'm not going to go down that path, but you have to satisfy the needs of the individuals that really do adopt this kind of technology in order to achieve that long-term growth, in order to achieve the organic growth that we've seen once it gets into an organization and people get their eyes on it or their first experience with it. Perfect. Now let's talk about the product suite a little bit. So I always like this slide. It kind of gives you, going clockwise around the Zoom product suite logo is going to give you a good overview of kind of the areas that we hit and the 5 key products that we go to market with that help to make the experience what it is. So we'll start off with the 5. I always like starting off at the very top with the video conferencing piece, or our Zoom Meetings tool. Zoom Meetings is, what everyone probably has, what you have experience with today. It's where your desktop application, you have it sitting there, you can click start, you can schedule a meeting. It's going to give you the ability to have that interaction, face-to-face interaction, content share, collaboration that you need at your desktop level or your mobile device level. So with Zoom Meetings, you're going to have the standard capacity of 50 attendees. That number can be scaled up to 100 or 200 with large meeting licenses, and we've now expanded that to not only 100, 200, but 300 or 500. So you can actually have this same meetings experience at the desktop level with up to 500 individuals. Everyone will be on video. You actually have a 5x5 interface with everyone on video, 25 people at a time, and you'll be able to flip through 25 at a time through all of the multiple hundreds of people that you have in your large meeting room experience. It's an amazing experience for the first time when industry experts that have been around forever and look at what that potentially would cost from a hardware component. So it's a powerful statement to have when you're talking with customers, peers, whomever in the industry. So, look at Zoom. You have the ability to have up to 500 people. Let's even use our 200-person capacity. List price for the 200-person large meeting room is $90. Having the ability to bring in 200 people, all on video, internal, external to the organization, no limitations, being able to deliver high-definition content share across to the experience to everyone. If you look at that from a hardware perspective, you're looking at a 200-port MCU, building out your firewall traversal hardware, and doing the work in the DMZ, doing the work on your side, being able to maintain the licensing for all of that and all the PS work that goes into developing it. You're looking at, just to get that same 200-port, 200-person video experience, you're looking at it easily an investment of around $1.2 million. Now, for $1.2 million, having just the same experience as our $90 a month license, it really shows the impact and the power that we deliver to the marketplace and how we can change the game and change the conversation. Even with that 200-port MCU, based upon the codec that you're using, if you want to bring in a room system, you're limited to around 5. Or if you really want to go all out and spend hundreds of thousands, looking at a 7 frames per second content share experience out of those environments. Whereas we're sharing at 30 frames per second on video, we're sharing at high definition on content. We can go and just click play to share a video from YouTube, Vimeo, any streaming service out there with audio and video capability built into it, just by pressing desktop share and play. Prior experiences, we've all had I need to plug in a Dynametrics box or route the audio through something, or people taking off their headset and setting it next to speakers. We've all seen heard the crazy stories, seen the crazy configs that people put together and try to make that work with Zoom. Again, it just works. You just click play and it's there. So when you bring up that 200 port MCU comparison, when you bring up the content share capabilities, those two alone are enough to make people just go, wow, and you're kidding me. So it's pretty amazing just from the meetings component. We haven't even gone into the other aspects yet. So along with your 50-person base license capacity, along with the ability to share streaming content just by sharing out your desktop or sharing out your application, you'll have the ability to have a gallery view or ActiveTalker view. So again, you can either experience 25 people at a time on the larger video calls, or you can experience one larger individual that's the ActiveTalker that will automatically adjust between the 200, 300, or 500 attendees you have all on video in that session. Very powerful experience. Now, in conjunction with our Zoom meetings is our group messaging or our chat client. Built into the same client, it's going to give you the ability to actually have instant messaging or chat-like communication with one-to-one individuals or one-to-many. So building out that group mentality for persistent chat within the Zoom client. Now, the chat component is amazing. I always like showing this on demonstrations. So you can actually go out and we now have, oh Lord, I think over 300 individuals inside of Zoom. And we have our group chats built for sales, for marketing, for different all company. We can go out to our all company and click meet on that group chat, and we can have over 200 people or have 200 people in a meeting within about 5 seconds. It's extremely powerful, and it's just something that no one believes that you can do it until they actually see it themselves. And some people think it's a recording, like this can't be real. Then you have everybody start talking, interacting. We've got some pretty funny salespeople that work for us when they come into those calls, so it always makes for a great laugh. And while they're seeing the power and experiencing it for themselves. You also have the ability to do file share, or file transfer within the chat environment. You're going to be able to do screen grabs, all the different collaborations, emojis, all the different things that you want in that chat-like experience. But it's still providing kind of a great experience, something that people are familiar with day to day, but also providing that enterprise level service that's required to operate with the customers that we attract. All right, let's move around from the Zoom meetings and chat, which go together in the same license. Now let's talk about the third component, which is going to be webinar, which is what we're in today. So webinar is an extremely powerful component. So imagine having 50 people that you can have as panelists, 50 people all on video, different parts of the world, everyone's gathered together, everyone's on video, and we can display that up to 9,950 participants for a total capacity of 10,000 people. I can do the same content streaming or content share with streaming video if I want to. I can share on my desktop at HD quality. You're going to have the ability to do that from a 100-person license with multiple steps, 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever you need. So think about the power that provides, all from a cloud service. There's no need for Wowza boxes or working with vBrick or any of the hardware-based components that are required for that streaming experience. No need to worry about any content distribution, configurations like Akamai or any of those. We're just delivering this via a web interface. You're eliminating all of those hardware components that many of the other tools out there try to tack on to their codec and MCU-based systems in order to provide that broadcast mentality for all hands meetings, large department meetings across very large organizations. This is done just through this exact service that you joined today. You click a link, you're in, you can sit and listen to the panelists, ask your questions through the Q&A panel, have the ability for registration to capture additional information. Again, has all the tools and the benefits of most of your webinar solutions out there, just providing a much higher quality and adding the video component to that with the 50 panelist capacity to be seen and switch between ActiveTalker. So a lot of power in that tool. We see it's one of our very, very popular applications that we provide. Moving on from webinar, the last two are kind of where we start to really see differentiators and a lot of power and how we're changing the marketplace. So we've got our meetings and chat and webinar that are going to be for your traditional web conferencing, video conferencing environment at the desktop level. When you move into our Cloud Room Connectors and our Zoom Rooms application, this is where you start to see the power of bridging the gap from the kind of first generation web conferencing, second generation web conferencing, into that true third generation experience of video collaboration. So the Room Connector is our interoperability engine. Cloud-based interoperability engine. This is going to give you the ability to bring in H.323 and SIP environments. So what we've seen and what we've heard from our partners, from our customers, is when you combine the Zoom Meetings aspect with the interoperability component, you actually now have the ability to extend the life of existing investments within an organization's infrastructure. So if you look at an older Polycom, an older Cisco, Tandberg device out there, life-size, those hardware-based solutions can become out of date rather quickly. About 5 years ago when Cisco bought Tandberg, they made a big push in video. They wanted to really drive a new experience. They launched a bunch of new products at the desktop level, room level, and it all was based upon building and attaching everything to Call Manager, having a TMS for your scheduling, all those different complicated components that it took to build a what they thought was a simplified user experience. And at the end of the day, the same thing occurred. People had difficulty using the touch panels. People had difficulty scheduling through their phone interface with those devices. What we've seen is through the Room Connector, so we can now have a Zoom meeting scheduled through the Room Connector, let those room systems just join the Zoom platform, and now you're extending the reach of that room system to a mobile device somewhere in Europe. Or a tablet somewhere, a Mac, a PC, Linux, BlackBerry, all the different applications and platforms that we operate on are now being able to reach into that room experience that you've already invested money in through an H.323 or SIP interface. So the budgetary dollars that people have invested in upgrading just one room experience can now be reallocated into desktop licensing for Zoom or into Zoom Rooms, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So that interoperability is more than just bringing a different connection into a meeting experience. It's reinvigorating that investment that someone's already made with a minimal level of investment to make it work, but a maximum value delivered to the organization because you're now democratizing video through Zoom to many other users and not just one room. Moving on from Room Connector, we'll talk about the other component of the last two, which is Zoom Rooms. So Zoom Rooms is our software-defined video conferencing application that is truly software that will video enable a room or a space or a huddle space or an open area, any area that you want to add a video component to in your organization or in your customers' organizations through software, through a $49 a month license. The only thing that's going to be required to make that work, the only hardware components are going to be commodity gear, which would be based upon a Mac Mini or Mac Pro if you want to go 3-screen that we launched recently, or a small form factor PC. Each of those devices can be placed onto the back of the monitor or in a cabinet. The end users never have to interact with that Mac Mini or PC. It's just there to operate as the brains of that room. You can then attach whatever audio components you want to that Mac Mini or to that PC. You can attach whatever video endpoints you want, USB-driven video endpoints you want to that experience. We have recommendations on our site for standard, pan tilt zoom webcams out there. But it's going to give you the flexibility and the freedom to work with your customers to build those spaces as they see fit and as you want to recommend to them, without having limitations of, we have to make sure that we've got the right maintenance plan on this route switch scenario. Your routers need to be upgraded. Your switches have to be upgraded because they're out of spec for this new solution. All those difficult, programs that go into adding video to a room system. When you look at the traditional players in the space, we remove all of those complexities and we introduce a software solution based upon commodity gear that you have the ability to customize, to build to your specifications with your customer. We've seen creative, placements of different monitor situations, single, dual, then triple monitor we have. We'll go into some description around that here in just a moment. So I know I spent a lot of time on this screen, and we actually have different components built into this, but we'll skip through most of these. We covered all of them. But I did want to talk about adding on to Zoom Rooms some of the recently launched items. So we also have Zoom Rooms for Touch that we've released. Zoom Rooms for Touch is going to give you the ability to have an interactive whiteboard experience within a Zoom Rooms environment. So you'll still have the Mac and the PC we talked about as your brains, Mac or the PC. You'll have the audio, the video component. You'll also still have your iPad, which will act as the remote for that Zoom Rooms experience, and the touch interface for that Zoom Rooms experience. But with Zoom Rooms for Touch, if you display that, if the monitor that you connect to that device is a interactive monitor, then your touch interactive monitor, you're going to have the ability to have a small circle up in the upper left-hand corner to touch it, and it automatically becomes an interactive whiteboard. So you're going to be able to have an interactive whiteboard collaborative experience with anyone that's joined the session via whatever device that they're on, because our whiteboard actually operates, across everything. So it's going to give you a really powerful experience, and that'll continue to be developed to enhance the touch experience, of course, in our Zoom Room environment as we develop that solution. But this gives you an idea from a conference and huddle room space, kind of all the different components. You have your Zoom Rooms for Touch if you want to, the interactive monitor. You have the room connectors. When you combine all of those together, you can see the power. Again, $49 a month, and with a minimum solution, with the different parts and pieces to build the Zoom Room, you're looking anywhere from a $2,500 to $5,000 investment on hardware and services to potentially do an install, that y'all are very familiar with. But think about the power. For one room system, doing that upgrade that we talked about, it could easily be $100,000, $150,000 in upgrade and hardware, maintenance, services, software that's required to bring that existing room system up to not even a level that Zoom provides today. It's giving you just a little better experience from the solutions they implemented 5 years ago. If you take that same $100,000, $150,000 budget that's there to upgrade that one room system, by using our interoperability and our cloud room connectors, you're going to be able to provide and extend the reach of that room system without spending that $150,000. You can reallocate that budget to, again, putting Zoom in the hands of everyone in the organization, implementing not just one room system, but now 20 or 50 Zoom rooms throughout an organization to, again, truly democratize the video experience and the access to video for everyone in the organization, not just the executives, not just senior management. So it's extremely powerful. This is why the story with Uber with 700 Zoom rooms around the globe, Slack with multiple hundreds of Zoom rooms, SolarCity with multiple hundreds of Zoom rooms. This is the power that they saw and why they chose Zoom, along with the ease of use, simplicity, high quality, everything that we put into it. But this is the power that they saw. Why limit it to one or two experiences? I want this across the entire organization where everyone can interact and collaborate on the fly whenever they need to. So there's a lot of power in that. Now with Zoom Rooms, you just again keep in mind, Zoom Rooms are going to have the ability to allow you to use Outlook scheduling, to have Gmail scheduling. You can load Zoom Rooms as a resource in your environment to actually have it reserved. You can use the Outlook plugin or Gmail plugin to attach a Zoom meeting to whatever calendar item that you want to send out. And when you do that, again, everyone's going to have that as a link that they can click on their mobile device, PC, Mac, whatever device they're on. But when you walk into that Zoom room, you'll just have a start button on the iPad touch interface for the Zoom room, and it'll crank the meeting up, and everyone's going to be hopping on from whatever endpoint they want to hop in from. Now, no matter what scenario of Zoom room you're in, Zoom Room for Touch or standard Zoom rooms, you're also going to have the ability to do wireless content sharing, which is an extremely powerful component. With the wireless content sharing, you're now eliminating the cables that you've got, strewn across the conference table. You're eliminating the USB, content sharing, plugins that you have that are sitting up front in a charging station that cost X amount of money. It's giving you the power to have anybody walk in, anybody from a remote device, share out the content at high definition to be seen on, again, mobile device, laptop, wherever, room system, if they're on an H323 or SIP device, they're going to be able to see the content coming through as well. So it eliminates a lot of the barriers, eliminates a lot of the clutter, eliminates a lot of the things that you have on a conference table when you implement Zoom Rooms. Josh, I know I'm kind of burning through a lot of this. Do we have any questions? Anybody have any
Oh, our buddy Steve out there, he says, this all sounds really simple. It almost sounds too simple. What's going on here? I mean, is this accessible to all types of organizations? Enterprise organizations, they've been in the, telepresence and conferencing space for a while because they can afford it. They can have dedicated staff devoted to upkeep with those rooms. What's the difference here? Why is this so accessible to all sorts of organizations? I'd say, a bit ubiquitous ease of use across all the platforms. The design is super simple. And if you know how to use Zoom meetings, you know how to use a webinar, you know how to even move into the Zoom room kind of space. You don't need that dedicated IT staff there to maintain that room every time there's a meeting going on and somebody accidentally hits that wrong button. Anything you'd want to add to that? Why is it so accessible?
It goes back to what we're built on. We're not trying to get pull-through revenue from existing hardware install base. We're not trying to leverage this tool to bring in other tools. We're not trying to do the traditional business methods and innovation that you've seen in this space. We came out strong with a new way of doing business, with a new way to satisfy collaborative needs on the market. That's why we've seen the popularity, another reason why we've seen the popularity and the growth that we have. We truly wanted to change the world from a collaboration space with SaaS software, with that true mentality of software as a service, underlining the word service. That's something that's unique. You see a lot of other providers out there that still have a dedicated manufactured hardware component they want to add to a SaaS solution. They're trying to still leverage or play both sides of the fence where we're a SaaS provider, but we also have our own hardware. They work together really well. And but then you start getting into, well, what about third-party systems? Well, let's talk about this, that. Then with us, we're software. We want to enable. That's why if you look at our partners that we have out there from a technology perspective, we got Logitech, Revo Labs, Jabra, Aver. There's a long list of technology companies that we work with today that are eager to do business and eager to work with us because they see that we are truly hardware agnostic, and they understand that they can take Zoom and add value to their speakerphone, video camera, whatever they provide that adds value to these huddle spaces and conference rooms. Zoom just enables them to be able to now reach a larger audience versus just people walking in for maybe a teleconference on a speakerphone. We're now turning a speakerphone into one part of a very robust video collaboration engine that is $49 a month. So it's pretty amazing. And our partners love us, again, and as everyone on the call probably realizes, for $49 a month, the pull-through business that you're getting is pretty amazing. For $49, you're looking at a hardware investment even at the lowest level between $2,500 and $5,000. You're looking at professional services that you're obtaining for doing the installation, all on a $49 a month kind of starter. And when people see the low barrier of entry to bring video into their organization across their entire organization, the 93% of conference rooms that have no video in them across the globe is a staggering number. And when you look at what we've done as the companies I mentioned before with Uber, Slack, Solar City, GoDaddy, Caesars Entertainment, everyone wanting to adopt Zoom rooms, wanting to adopt that video mentality in whatever collaborative space that they have in their organization, we're really going after that 93% of space where there's nothing. If your customers, or you already have telepresence units set up, we can add value to that. But again, we're going to go out there and fill video space that no one's ever touched before, just because of that simplicity, low cost, high quality. As an example of Zoom Rooms for Touch, as you can see, you'll have the interactive whiteboard, your controls, everything that you're familiar with in the standard Zoom desktop meeting. It's going to have a similar look and feel, but now you can just walk up and start collaborating and speaking on video with someone right there in front of the screen. We do provide audio conferencing. I didn't include it as our core because it is kind of an ancillary service that we provide. It's something that does not get passed through from a margin earnings perspective with our resellers. So just wanted to let you know that it is there if it's a necessity by the client to have an integrated toll-free audio conferencing solution. We can help you provide that, but it is a pass-through billing scenario. With our core solutions, we actually provide voice over IP and toll-based conferencing at no cost. It's included with the solution. Just remember, on that toll-based conferencing, the only difference is you dial a long-distance number. And as you can imagine, the long-distance number, doesn't really make an impact on anyone today dialing in from a smartphone. Long distance has kind of become okay, I'll just dial whatever number there is. One of the other aspects, when you talk about adding value, you see the value that we bring to the marketplace. Because we are a software-based solution, a SaaS solution, the integrations and the people that are coming to us trying to do business with us and add value to their experience as well as Zoom's has been astronomical. So when you look at the companies that are reaching out, we've got our Chrome plugins, Firefox, Microsoft, Slack. Integration with Slack is something that's extremely popular. Hashtag Zoom to immediately start up a video session. Extremely easy. Everybody loves their not hashtag with /Zoom. Everyone loves their slash commands and inside of Slack, and understanding what can be done. And but integration with Skype for Business as well. So providing native integration, having the ability to join a Zoom session right from a Skype for Business client, which is great if say you're working with a very large organization that happens to be in a lockdown environment. Zoom is a client-based tool. So they would have to be able to download a client in order to get into a Zoom meeting. It's not a problem in most 95, 98% of most people's experience. However, there are those lockdown environments where if they're in a lockdown environment, they're probably using Skype for Business or something similar. But with Skype for Business, if they have that client, then you just go and type in the meeting number at link.zoom.us inside of the find a person space on your Skype for Business client, and you'll be able to go right into the Zoom session. So another very powerful component to Zoom. We're all about removing barriers to collaboration, and that's just kind of another check mark on the list of one way we can eliminate any barriers to getting into a collaborative experience. From a content sharing perspective, having the ability to share Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive files right from your mobile device inside of a Zoom room. So imagine walking into a telepresence system and say, hey, I've got a presentation on my phone that I want to share to everybody on this call. You'd get laughed out of the room. Walk into a Zoom room, I just go to share.zoom.us or join the meeting from my mobile device, and I can mute my audio, mute my phone. If I go to share.zoom.us and share, it automatically mutes my audio on my phone. I just come in as a content sharing attendee, and I can grab PowerPoint, Excel, Word, PDFs, whatever document I want to, and share right from my phone. I can even share over AirPlay. I can even share my iPhone screen if I want to demonstrate a mobile app that we're working on with an engineering team. There's a lot that we could talk about, so I'm sure I've missed some of these items, but it's extremely powerful. We also are growing our integration base through a company called Zapier. So Zapier, it gives you the ability to kind of do the, what you see is what you get kind of environment, or what is it, IFTTT, if this, then that scenario. So you can take one application and tie it with Zoom. Say, I want to register in this system. When I do that, I want it to automatically create a link for a meeting and do this. And you kind of build that integrated experience through a workflow within Zapier. It's extremely powerful, but it gives Zoom the reach into hundreds, if not thousands, of other applications to help create kind of workflows in the manner that you want them to be created. We have LTI systems integration, so from LMSs, Canvas, Blackboard, Moodle, Desire to Learn, many, many more that are interested in growing that integration. And then from robotics, we have Kubi, which is an amazing little tool. It looks like a little stick with two fingers on it, and you can slide an iPad into it and set it up for auto answer, and you can literally from your chat component dial and ring that robotic arm in the iPad that's in it to automatically answer, pick up. Then you can control using foreign camera control. You can control the arm and move it around, up, down. Your video, your voice is going to be in there. So it's like a talking head. We've seen people put that right above a water cooler, so you can truly have a water cooler experience for your remote sales team, and want people to come in from maybe a remote workforce and allow them to feel like they're still a part of the team, be able to chat with people as they walk by. It's a great little drop in for 2-3 minutes. We had one up on our corporate offices cubicle right up on top, so I used to dial into it and scare people as they walk by. It was a great little fun experience. But it's powerful when you look at what it can do from an education space, healthcare space. There's a lot of great use cases for it. And that's all I really have for you today. I know we've covered a lot. I know that I get excited about talking about Zoom, as you can tell. I start talking really fast. But if there's any questions in Q&A, Josh, let me know. Be happy to answer them. Anything that comes through. There's a lot that goes into it, and I'm sure that I'll be meeting with each and every one of you throughout at some point in the next couple of weeks, and if you want to follow up with me, have any questions, you'll be able to reach out with me and do it one-on-one if you'd like. But any other questions in the Q&A, Josh?
Wayne, you're not the only person who gets that enthusiastic about this stuff. I do the same thing. I get so excited. It's just, I want to say that last bit, the integrations bit, is huge. As you mentioned earlier, a lot of us come from a competitor's environment, and coming over to Zoom and just seeing how tied in Zoom is to all these other services and being able to integrate so easily, so ubiquitously across the board is a big thing. A little bit of detail on the audio component. We had a question. So standalone audio, the built-in audio, we have access, I believe it's 54 international locations. We just added, with the premium audio option, some additional international location. I think that number is, 72 or 73 now?
I'm not sure. I know it's been growing rapidly.
Yeah, I know we just added a few, so we're over 70 now. And then the ability to dial out from Zoom, all that tied into one. Let's talk about the recording element with the Zoom application, though. So we do have high quality recording. It's an MP4 file format. Anything you want to add with regard to the recording aspects of the Zoom application?
So the recording piece is great, especially when you start looking at Zoom Room, start looking at your mobile device experience. Being able to automatically record from wherever you are is extremely powerful. And then being able to play that back over a streaming solution that Zoom provides. I find myself, everybody is like, I don't want to be recorded, I don't want to do that. But as you get more comfortable, that you really find the power in it. And not having to take as many notes if you really want to spend time with someone internally and focus on what you're talking about versus looking down at your notepad and typing or writing or looking at Evernote. There's a lot of power in the ability just to click one button and then focus on the conversation.
Also nice that every recording comes with an audio-only file, so if you do need to have minutes made, transcription made, super easy just to send that tiny audio-only file out for transcription. We have a question from David. David, thanks for the question. Any plans around WebRTC currently?
So here's the thing with WebRTC. I'm glad you asked that question. You're going to see all of the hype. You're going to see a lot of the talk around WebRTC. It's been there for, 4 years now? We are very happy, and our clients are very happy with our philosophy around WebRTC. We build a client-based solution because of the power that we provide, because of the feature parity that we provide across browsers, across applications, across endpoints. Our goal is to provide a singular experience no matter where you're from, no matter what device you're using to join. We want that singular experience to exist, and that's why people choose Zoom. When you look at WebRTC, people are building different code for different browsers, for different experiences, for different scenarios. You can join from this browser, but not that browser. We found that we don't want to be stuck in the middle of 3 800-pound gorillas, that being Apple, Google, and Microsoft. You're never going to win that battle. If you build to one, they're going to change it and move to the next. We are exploring ORTC, which is kind of the, Google calls it WebRTC 1.1 because they don't want to lose the WebRTC component. Microsoft calls it ORTC because they're doing more of the development around it. Apple's still just staying out of it. But we're not going to be limited by who can join and what method. We're going to continually to build our application with that ubiquitous approach where anybody and everybody can use it. WebRTC is a great marketing, conversation, and you can see everyone that kind of comes out with their own version of it, but then there's a hardware component. They don't really advertise to it. We're just going to continue to build what works and what makes our clients happy. And we're always on the forefront of seeing what market changes are taking place. So we'll always have a solution prepared when it's going to deliver the level of happiness that we want to our customers. If it's not, if there's going to be 1, 2, multiple caveats that are just going to ruin the experience, then we're not going to launch it. We're not going to build to it.
That's great. We've got another question from our buddy George out there. Thanks for the question, George. And I think this is a really important item to bring up. We've talked about how we've penetrated the university, the higher education market as well. But another success story is penetration into medical. And that's all because Zoom is HIPAA compliant. Can you speak to that a little bit, Wayne?
I can. So Zoom is HIPAA compliant, but as we all know, HIPAA compliancy isn't based upon a technology's capability or the settings that we turn on. HIPAA compliancy is based on a workflow and rule set that an organization implements internally in how you use technology. What Zoom does is it gives each organization the ability to be HIPAA compliant if they build the right workflow. Now, one of the major aspects of Zoom is we will sign the BAA, which is a business associates agreement that is required if you truly want to be considered a HIPAA compliant solution. So that is something that we will do in the right scenario and the right size of deal for our customers out there in the healthcare space.
It just gets more and more awesome. That wraps up the questions that we've received. We want to thank everybody for the questions that you've added. Wayne, great presentation, really great job. And Wayne, is there anything that you guys would like to add as we move to wrap up? Any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our attendees here today?
I just want to thank everyone for your time. Again, it's a pleasure. I'm sure that we're going to have the opportunity to get to know each other as we move through this. Ann and I are here to assist whenever you need. Most of the people on this call, from what I was able to see, I'll be your main point of contact. I'll be the person that you can reach out to if you need assistance. And of course, you have our sales team to be able to reach out to if needed to work on specific deals, but never hesitate to reach out, give me a call. You can find me on LinkedIn with all my email information, contact information there.
And anything you want to add there?
No, just thank you guys. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. And you know what? We got one more question. This is probably the most important question. Are our backgrounds real? Are you really in a boat right now, Wayne?
I know we're being recorded, but I'll still do it. I always had the props to share with everybody. I'm just, sitting on the back of the boat. Just got fishing lines out in the water right now.
And yes, I'm in the foothills of Santa Barbara. No, we use wall canvases. It's nice to have that kind of entertaining background, visual appeal there. We got to get one for Ann right away.
Yes.
All right. Well, we want to thank everybody. There's been some useful items put into the chat. Thank you for providing that link to the HIPAA guidelines there in the chat. If you didn't see that, go ahead and grab that link. Thanks for adding that in there. And we want to thank everybody for joining us today. I know it's not always easy to pull an hour out of your time, and we're going to give you 5 minutes back in your day. So thanks so much for your time today. Thanks for being part of the Zoom family. We really appreciate you coming along with us. We did record today. We'll be able to provide this for you later on as well. So keep your eyes peeled. We also have another reseller webinar next month we hope you'll be able to join us for. So please keep an eye out for your newsletter. On behalf of the Zoom family, we just want to thank you again for your time today. Please enjoy the rest of your day.
Take care, everyone.